Hello. Hello. How you guys? Um, it's been a while since I have done anything online here in the form of a video, and I just thought I'd come today and talk about where I've been, what's going on, and share with you a little bit of yeah, what's happening. So for I guess I'll say Happy New Year. I don't think I've even done a video this year yet, so this would be the first one. But today's a bit of an update. It's my plan is to just kind of share with you the experience of the last little while, and yeah, here we are. So early December, I got to go and take a recovery coaching course. I just wanted to share that with you. It was really something. For many of you know, I've been in recovery for many years, I know what's worked for me, I'm grateful for my 12 steps, and that's really the basis of my recovery. But I discovered that there's this space that there's millions of people out there that are dealing with addiction and alcoholism and addiction, and there's this space kind of between the therapist and the counselor and the treatment center, if you will, and the sponsor in the 12-step recovery world. And there's this quite a big space where it's a bit of a no man's land where people who want to have recovery are not sure what to do, and that space in a lot of the world is starting to be filled with recovery coaches. So guys like me who have had many years of recovery, some not as long, but who want to give back, who want to help in that area. And so I went and took this course, very intensive. It was like, oh my gosh. And there's a little bit of me thinking, what are they going to teach me after all these years and all the books I've read and all the, but I got a lot. I did. I really got a lot. It was amazing. And I see the need for a recovery coach. It doesn't take away from the possibility that many of these people are going to find their way to the 12 steps. It may even actually make that easier for a lot of people, and because there's sometimes a prejudice or a fear, or they're like, oh gosh, I don't want to go there, it's religious or whatever, and the recovery coach can kind of soften that road a bit. And so I'm grateful. I learned a lot. Kevin and Shelley at a company out in Vancouver area called Still Here, and they're training recovery coaches. They're on a mission, and there's room for thousands of people in that space because it's a big space, And I one of the things I learned is that I started looking at recovery at least 2 years before I came to the 12 steps. At least 2 years before, I was like trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And luckily I survived those years and got, for me into the 12 steps. It was a different world back then. There wasn't so many treatment centers. There wasn't, and there was a bit of, sometimes the people in the 12-step world didn't think much of the treatment centers, and the treatment centers sometimes, there was a bit of, but it's not there so much anymore. We're all on going the same direction. It's clear that there's an epidemic in addiction, and the terms around addiction have expanded. We see that people are not just using drugs and alcohol, but food, and gambling and having trouble, with their emotional, so we have Emotions Anonymous, but and so mental health. And so the recovery coach can help in a lot of areas to kind of be there, without an agenda, without enabling. He's not like mom or dad, and without a specific plan, but can help people make a plan. So I'm liking that. So if you know anybody that wants to take the program who's in recovery, I can refer you to because I think there's room for lots of us here in Calgary. I can refer you to Kevin and Shelley uh, and and uh, and work with you. And also, if you've got somebody that wants to talk about recovery but isn't ready for the 12 steps, then send them to me. We'll talk to them about that, and I'm open to that. I'm just, I still sponsor guys, and I'm going to continue to do that. I love the work I do in the 12-step world, but this is something else. And also, for me, it helps to pay the rent a little bit too. I mean, um, why not work in this field? So I'm excited about it. Now, the next thing that I want to tell you about that I'm just totally zoomed about, I'm really excited about, is that this vision came to create a course. And I don't want to say that I decided, although when I wrote the notes on this, I said I decided. I didn't decide. It kind of came to me. It was decided, and I was like, oh, you sure? And because I have this relationship with a higher power that's, you might think is a little freaky, but it's quite personal, and when it's not a belief, or it's not a dogmatic thing. It's just a personal relationship, because I looked for years and finally figured out how that works. Even though it was so obvious. Anyway, so this vision of this course is a course to work with men who are fathers, dads in recovery, fathers in recovery, sober dads. And it just, wow. And along about the same time, just before I took the recovery coaching course, the universe, God as I understand him or don't understand him, kind of pointed me in the direction of this little company in Vancouver that helps people, professionally helps people create courses. What the hell do I know about creating a course? Not a lot. What do I know about being a dad in recovery? A lot. My kind of story was that when my daughter was born, I was probably the least likely that anybody would have picked to be a father. My gosh, when she was born, I was 24. I was a drunk. I was, I was kind of living on the wrong side of the law. I don't know if I want to go into the details about that, but I was not gainfully employed, not legally, and I was a mess. And I was an emotional. I was, in a 24-year-old body. I was about 13 emotionally. I was not the best pick for my daughter's mom to pick me as a dad. So I have the story. I lived this experience, and I sobered up then in December. My daughter was 6 months old, and somehow, by the grace of God, in the fellowship that I belonged to, I was able to stay sober. I got to stay sober. I never went back out drinking. I was crazier than the shithouse rat, but and I didn't have any skills. I hadn't been to school. I didn't go to high school. I was like, it was a mess, right? And but somehow we made it work, and a couple of more kids came along. Married a couple of times. I've been very blessed. I've had beautiful ladies that are mothers of my children, and I have a beautiful relationship with them both still. So my story is a story of a man who had no reason to believe he could be a successful father, and have had that happen. My kids are now adults, and they talk to me on a regular basis, and I have grandkids, and I have an amazing relationship. So my personal experience as a dad in recovery is a win, huge win, and it's been big for me the whole time. I've always wanted to be a great dad, and I did some trainings over the years to do that. I joined a men's group. That the primary reason that I wanted to be in that men's group was to be with men who were dads and recovered, or mostly were dads. A lot of those fellows weren't in recovery, but they were good dads, and I got to role model from them, because I didn't a lot of my terms around being a dad were that I didn't want to be like my dad. But that's not the best context, how to be a great dad. Well, I just don't want to be like my dad. Well, that's not a great context. So anyway, I found these people, Sunny Lenadusi in Vancouver. She and her company have been helping people create courses. I'm excited about that, and I researched the heck out of them and thought, well, these people are the people, they really seem to care about helping people be successful in creating courses. So I signed up with them, and this is an investment. In myself, it wasn't. It was a big investment to sign up for this course, and it was interesting. My youngest son said to me, "Dad, I can't believe you're actually paying for education." He said, "That's not your MO," but I did, and it's exciting. So I'm trying to follow the plan, there's a real plan for creating a course, and one of the things that's very early in the plan is for me to interview 50 what they would call ideal clients, but it's not for them to be clients, but the people that I'm building the course for. So I've interviewed almost 20 men who are fathers in recovery, some of them with very young children, some with varying degrees of education, and some early in recovery, some later in recovery. It's a real mix of men. And wow, if I ever already I think I'm at 18 or 19, I have learned so much about men as dads, and probably one of the biggest thing that I've learned is that the men are very sincere. They really want to be good dads. They really want to be good dads, and they want their kids to know that they're loved. And even if they're estranged from their kids, even if they're not getting along with their moms, even if that's when I ask them, how would you like to be remembered? That I want my kids to know I love them. That's almost universal. And from dads, it really is almost universal. The other thing that's almost universal is that hardly any of them have done anything formally to learn about being a dad. It seems that we have this idea that we're supposed to know. How the hell is that? And most of them would spend more time and money on learning how to tune up their car. And it's just that they don't know. We've been conditioned that we're supposed to know how to be a dad, but we don't know what we don't know, right? And we can't see what we can't see. So so it seems that my job is not just to create a course, but also to tweak men in general, that holy shit, let's be proactive about learning some skills in being a dad. Okay? And that's it. You're gonna hear from me a lot this year around supporting men in being better fathers. And a lot of us, I ask a question often, how was the relationship with your dad? And the answer often isn't very good. Well, dad wasn't there. Great. Well, where's your role model as a father? I didn't really have one. My mom was actually both dad and mom, if you will. I've heard that, and because dad wasn't there. So, what I'm hoping to do is to change that. To make it so that the dads that I'm getting to talk to get to stay, to be dads, to be good dads. I remember, my first wife, Linda, and I broke up when our kids were reasonably young. Like I think they were about 12 and 9, something like that, and we went through the process of this breaking up. And I remember that my daughter Emily said to me, "Dad, it's almost half the kids in my class, their parents are separated. It's okay," because I was crushed. I was crushed, and I didn't know how to be, still in relationship with my kids and not be in relationship with their mother. And as it turns out that, their mother and I have always continued to be in relationship. It changed, but we continue to be. And I want to share in this course, and we're going to share in this course how that works. How do you stay in relationship with the mom? Because it's important. Almost without fail, my experience with moms is they want their children to have a dad. They want that. And so, I want to help men to make that easy. And so there's work to be done there. And the main thing that I found is that a lot of fellas don't know what they don't know. They want to be great dads. They're kind of leaving it up to chance, or they're kind of throwing their arms up and say, well, this one's in God's hands. Well, we can't blame God on if we don't show up. So we're going to, there's going to be some, I think as the course develops, there's going to be some tough questions. Men are going to get to look at themselves and each other. Yeah, so I'm in the middle of this. It's exciting. So that's it. Life is good. It's fun because I get to do these interviews online, so I don't have to drive around, and it's been so damn cold in Alberta. I don't, if you're not here, it's been like 27 to 30 below every night. We really have a winter. I love the seasons. Anyway, the next thing if you have men in your life, I have quite a list, but I can't kind of get to them all. But if you have men in your life that you think that I should talk to, that would like to contribute, that are dads in recovery, let me know. Or if you're a dad in recovery and you've got time to share your experience, to talk about how you're doing as a dad in recovery, private message me if you'd like, and let's have a conversation. And I want to hear how it's going for you. And you can contribute to this overall thing, because the content of this course is coming out of these interviews. It really is. And of course I'm doing some other research too, and my own experience as well. But the plan is that as men go through the course, we'll have a private Facebook group for them, so they can continue to be together and get support from other men who are in recovery, who are dads. And had a fellow say to me the other day, I don't have any male friends in recovery who are dads. Well, we need that. I remember I went and took a men's weekend years ago, and one of the reasons I wanted to go to this men's weekend, it was a very intensive men's weekend events training weekend that I paid for, and over the years I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on education. I went and took this men's weekend, and a lot of it was because I wanted to be a better dad. And it was written down in my changes. I wanted to be a better dad, and I learned so much there about my relationships with my dad, because that's an important piece of this, and my relationships with my ex, because at that time I had two, and that really carried me a long way. So we want to share that in this course, and it's going to be kind of an experiential course. It's going to be hopefully transformational. And what could be more important than our job as a dad? And I think that lots of times there's nowhere for dads to turn to say, what do I do? How does this work? And sometimes pride won't let us say that, right? Because we think we're supposed to know. How the hell are we going to know? Jesus, right? Unless we support each other in this job. So that's it. It's an exciting time. Love you guys. I'm available to chat, and either this recovery coaching thing, I'm enjoying it, and if you have anybody that you think might want to just talk about that, I'm here. Or if you're in recovery and you'd like to go and take this course, talk to me. I'd like to send you. I'd love to have 20 or 30 people in Calgary who are recovery coaches, and we can support each other and I think make a difference for lots of people that are in that middle ground, and trying to figure out what's next. There's a lot of need for recovery coaches. So I guess that's it. Love you guys so much. As I travel around, and I'm out there in the world, and I run into people who've been watching my videos, and they say, hey David, I enjoy your videos, and that thing. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for your support. As I create this program, in some ways, ego tells me I'm in way over my friggin' head, and I'm just having faith that the right people will show up to help, and I have some people have showed up to help, and I appreciate that. I have a friend that's helping me go through the videos and pull the material, the information, the content out of it. So I just have lots of faith that this is the path, to give back, um, supporting fathers in recovery. What more important work could there be, to influence the next generation? What do men want? Besides that, they want their kids to know that they were loved. They want to break the chain. I hear that all the time. I want to break the chain of mental illness and addiction in my family. And I'm so grateful because, God has been good to me. That's happened in my family. That recovery has happened, and recovery is contagious. It really is. We get to shine the love light into our families as we access that light. So, okay, that's it. Love you guys. Let's chat soon. Call me or whatever. We'll talk. Bye.